slid on dry pavement, taking out the William Street exit on the Interstate 90. Now, that accident was not my fault. Like I said, I put 100,000 miles on that car and didn't get new tires. So, them tires were as bald as a baby's butt. And before I slid on the pavement, I actually was stuck on a friend's front yard on a dry day on his grass because the tires had no thread whatsoever. So I was speeding a little bit to get home because I had to work early in the morning the next day. And my exit came up sooner than I expected. And I went to go get off. And if the tires were right, I wouldn't have slid. But they weren't. So I slid and I took out the William Street exit on the Interstate 90, which had 3 poles at the time, and the one in the middle was a stud that went into the ground like 3-4 feet, and it was a very heavy stud, and that car was bad. That was, it was worse than me hitting the parked car, but it didn't hurt as bad. I don't know. They say that you're supposed to be able to take a car accident better if you're sleeping and not aware because you're not tensed up. I tensed up when I slid on that Interstate 90, and I didn't get as hurt as bad, really. But from that point, that was in May 21st, 2021, they decided that I owed them $15,000, and they garnished me at one point 100% of my wages, forcing me on unemployment while working 7 days a week still. But I'll admit, I wasn't very motivated to make good money because I wasn't getting any of it, so it was just to pay off this car that technically I would have been entitled to if I paid it off. They fixed it up good as new. I brought it to their attention. I go, well, if I pay for this car, wouldn't I get the car? And they're like, oh, there's no insurance on it yet. And then they changed the subject. From that point, that's what decided my fate with Liberty. Because they've wronged me, and they knew they wronged me. So they figured, let's, get him for what he's got, and then cut him loose and terminate him. So they put me through a total of 3 wrongful terminations, and I would just threaten to go to the Department of Labor. They'd give me my job back. So they gave me my job back. I'm trying to think, it was sometime they wrongfully terminated me in November 11th, I believe. Took me back in February of 2022, and so they garnished me from May 2021 to damn near December 2021, and even into 2022 I was garnished. I didn't get my first couple paychecks at all, and so then I'm all caught up. I didn't owe them anything. They tried to tell me there's only liability on them cars and that I had to pay for it because it was my fault, and it realistically wasn't my fault. But that's where everything went wrong. And even with them wronging me, like, I would have been alright with it if I had known the situation. Like, I thought, I'm on record working, collecting unemployment. I'm like, I'm gonna get screwed by the IRS. I didn't know that they had it in the system that I wasn't working. I don't know what they did, but they had it so that it looked like I was never working. So I'm freaking out, thinking I'm gonna have problems with the IRS. And the IRS don't play. Everybody knows that. When it comes to their taxes, they get you. and I'm not trying to get jammed up, put in jail over the IRS taxes. And if they would have just communicated with me or something, things could have been different. My life wouldn't have been ruined, like, all because of some miscommunication. Like, I think they tried to hint to me once or twice, but the shit went over my head because I didn't know what the hell they were talking about, and I didn't think that they'd be capable of doing that. At this point, I didn't know who my employers were, so I'll leave it at that. I did not know who my employers were. Whenever you get a job, always do your homework like they do on you, like a background check. Find out who the hell you're working for, because the guys I was working for were some serious people that had some serious power and pull and money. So I wish they would have just told me, like, hey, it's all off the record, don't stress it. And I wouldn't have stressed it, but it didn't go down like that. So I was bugging. I asked for my 1099, they didn't give it to me. So my phone's hacked, and I had this gut feeling it was them, because a year and a half ago when I noticed it was hacked, neither one of my employers could look me in the eyes, and they had the mechanic give me my paycheck. It was that awkward, and I was embarrassed. I felt violated. Every dirty picture, video in my phone, they've seen. Every text message I typed, they've seen. Every phone call I made, they heard. My phone was like a walkie-talkie to them, and they proved it to me in front of other people that witnessed me bringing up, like, I started my own business on Google. They knew about it, and they took full control over it when my phone was hacked. And when I brought it up to their attention, I played stupid like I didn't know who these hackers were. And their response was just delete it, and I didn't want to delete my account because I had pictures of my 16-year-old when he was a baby on there. Like, I shouldn't have to delete my account. But they suggested I got to place it on my own, and I did on April 1st. My home was broken into twice. A girl that I was talking to at the time told me, make notes in your phone. They'll be timestamped, which I did, which is in one of the previous videos, which shows on April 6th at 5 a.m. I made a note that my home was broken into twice. And they broke a mirror. They put money on the picture of the mirror, and then they drank an alcoholic beverage, left an empty on my bar, turned pictures 90 degrees, things to intimidate me, basically. They'll let me know that, what they could do. So I make note of it, and I flipped out the day before, April 5th, on cab camera, and said, basically, just keep your nose out of my ass and let me work hard. Well, on April 6th, after I wrote that note, they waited till I was at my farthest passenger from my home in Hamburg. They waited till I was out in Alden to call 911 and have 15 officers and troopers surround the cab until 40 minutes until my two Russian employers came, took the cab with like over 1,600 of my money in there, but I knew to grab my work ledger and pay stubs because I knew that would be more valuable, which I was right, because when I called unemployment, they said there's no record of me ever even working for them. So they put me out of work April 6th, and I kept nagging them and nagging them and nagging them and nagging them to come back. I'm like, give me my job back. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, you tell me to get my own place. I sign a 12-month lease, and then you wrongfully terminate me 6 days later after my house is broken into? Like, who does that? That's some evil, evil shit. Like, they wanted to financially drown me so that I couldn't pursue a lawsuit. And things get so much worse from this point. When I didn't delete the account, things got out of control ugly. I was threatened. I was stalked. I made a police report. A woman pulled in my driveway with a blue Subaru, the plate HYL8446. And basically, my phone's about to die. Basically, I made a police report and they called crisis services on me. And then I saw that same plate but on a black Suburban the next day on the Skyway. So I put knots in my stomach. So I speed up to go around them. And at the very bottom of the Skyway, who do I see but my boss himself, who cuts me off in a teal Prius, sticking his whole head out the window to make sure he made himself known that he was there. And I'm going to have to wrap this up for part 2 for what really happened until I get my phone charger, folks.